Welcome, Meg, to the Fempreneur podcast. You're in Calgary. I'm in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Today, we're going to be getting you to share as much as you possibly can about what your business is and why you started it and how you started it, too. So, start wherever you want with the story.
Well, it's such a pleasure, and absolutely. So, my name is Shaman Meg, and I do intuitive healing. And so, what does that mean? I do evidential mediumship, I do energy healing, so Reiki or chakra energy healing, and I tap into the Akashic Records, which is about past lives. So, that might be something interesting that we can kind of delve into a little bit later.
Yeah.
And how did I get into this? Okay. Well, we're going to start a little bit from the beginning because this isn't always what I've done. My background is actually marketing and communications. And so when I graduated university, it was at the height of the downturn in the economy. And so, of course, you're applying for jobs and there's nothing. And it was one of those mindsets that I had that, okay, I could continue working at the same place that I was, which, well, it was like a print facility and web design and that sort of thing. And that was great. I enjoyed it, but it wasn't actually what I had gone to school for. So I thought, if I can't find it, I will make it. And I got myself first client, and I realized that wow, there's a lot of work here. So I actually brought in one of my cohorts from university and I said, hey, do you want to partner with me on this project? Like, I need some extra support. Can you come on in and help me here? And she did. And lo and behold, it turned into a full-fledged business. And so, yeah, we became business partners and we ended up hiring multiple subcontractors to work underneath us. And it was amazing. And so I did that for quite a while. And we took on a number of contracts. So Calgary is big for oil and gas. So we did oil and gas, got into the nonprofit sector as well, did some government contracts. And really, it was such a thrilling time in my life because here we are and movers and shakers, and I was the face of our business. So she stayed in the office and did a lot of the behind the scenes work, and I was the person that was in front of the scenes. And so here I am doing all these networking events and getting all the clients and still doing the work as well. But it got to a point where I wasn't sleeping well. I was barely sleeping. We had a lot of contracts on the go. And because I was out all the time, I was eating out. So a lot of restaurant food or on the go stuff. And, I wasn't taking time for me and doing things for me. And I got to this point where I got burnt out. And I think as entrepreneurs, that's something that a lot of us have experienced. Or if we haven't experienced it yet, if we're not taking necessary steps to focus on us and be healthy and be cognizant of our own wellness, it's something that can happen. So, what actually happened? One day I was walking my dog while um, we were doing a nature walk and I got bit by a tick and I got Lyme disease. And so, in a matter of 3 months from being bit by the tick, doctors didn't catch it, unfortunately. It was misdiagnosed as something else. And so, in a matter of 3 months, I went from this super high functioning, on the go all the time person to barely able to walk. I was barely able to talk. I had lost my short term memory. And so I'm in the hospital, and doctors are going, what's going on? We have this young lady who has all these things happening in her life, but neurologically, I wasn't able to function well. And so after a number of tests and things, it was finally diagnosed actually after sending paper or testing and whatnot to another country. And that's a whole other story. I won't get into that stuff because we're here to talk about the business aspect of things. But let's just say I went on a very long health journey, which had a number of ups and downs. And so, I think back and I go, well, gosh, maybe if I had gotten better sleep, or maybe if I had eaten better things or taken better care of my health, this wouldn't have happened. But I also look at it in the sense that, wow, okay, I went on this really major journey. And I mean major as in the sense that like near death experiences. Okay.
Mhm.
Like it was bad where I was bedridden for months and months. And I ended up having to go to another country for treatment. So outside of Canada. So, after multiple rounds of treatment, here I am, and I'm so blessed to be here. And, but it just goes to show that our health is so important and our wellness is so important. And so that is how I got into what I'm doing now, because once I got well again after the treatment for Lyme disease, I I realized that even though I loved marketing and I loved communications, it wasn't quite what I was passionate about anymore because I had done so much self study with how to, well, for health and wellness, we'll just say. So I had done so much studying on that. And quite frankly, I had gifts, we'll call them, as a child. And after my near death experiences, my gifts kind of came to the forefront. So here I am going, okay, I'm getting better. But wow, I don't know if I'm actually going to get back into doing what I was doing before. I think there's a new avenue that I'm not only passionate about now for helping people because I had learned so many things to help myself. So here I have all this knowledge base, but also I have these gifts that I was born with that I actually suppressed for a really long time.
Yeah. Wow. So give us some examples or even stories of how those gifts bubbled up and kind of basically just didn't allow you to ignore them anymore while you were maybe going through treatment and fighting to get your health back.
Yes. Well, so I'll actually say it was more after the fact. And quite frankly, during COVID, things just really started amping up gifts wise. And so I can see spirit. So our loved ones that have passed away, I can see them and I can also hear them. And so it was just happening more and more. And as a kid, of course, that's scary. You're trying to figure out what's going on, and your parents are saying, oh, it's just your imaginary friend, or it's your imagination happening again. And
Mhm.
but I knew it was something very real, but nobody else around me really could explain it. And
Mhm.
so I just thought it's best to ignore it. And I got into the corporate world, and you get out of school and you get into the corporate world. And the funny thing was, nobody that I was around ever really talked about this stuff. So nobody talked about having dreams of their loved ones who've have passed on, but I've had visitations with them in their dreams. No one ever really talked about, oh, I see these repeating numbers on the clock all the time. And I feel like that's a sign from God or the universe or from a loved one. And I wasn't really exposed to that. And so, I did have a point when I was younger, where I did have a extended family member who really validated things for me, but I wasn't ready yet at that point in my life. So she was able to say, yes, this is what's happening. In my 20s, she said, this is what's happening. And I thought, I'm not ready to open up that door. But it really took the near death experiences, the amount of losses that I had in my life that were associated to illness. So, losing your job, losing your home, losing your vehicle, losing my relationship. And so, the amount of losses that I went through in a short period of time, oh, it was a lot to handle. So, you know, there's something to be said about working through those things and the healing process that it takes. And sometimes healing isn't just I go to this one thing and boom, I'm better. And sometimes it takes a long time. And so
Mhm.
I had the personal mm, experiences to be able to now, when I work with clients on their healing journeys, to say, I get it. I've been through it. I've been there. So
Mhm.
it's so yes, the gifts wise, it's the mediumship. So evidential mediumship, meaning I can bring loved ones through and I see them and I hear them, and sometimes they give me little words that I piece together like a puzzle, or images, and I also piece those together, and I share them with the client. And really, it's about sharing messages of hope and healing and providing clarity for people in their lives.
Yeah, and I had the pleasure of being on the receiving end of Meg's amazing media gift, and it was very mind blowing. I've never experienced anything like that, and so she's the real deal, y'all. I
Thank
won't I
you.
won't explain exactly what happened, but it was very, very, very real and very, very, very cool. So, and thank you again
Awesome.
for that, Meg.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're very welcome. I love the impact that it makes on people.
Yeah.
That something that can just have that big of an impact, where you feel that healing or that relief afterwards, or things that maybe weren't said with our loved ones, that we're able to kind of wrap up and make peace with, or knowing that our loved ones on the other side are okay, and
Yeah.
they had illness before they passed, and now they're okay and they're at peace, and they're well. There's something about taking that weight off of our shoulders and healing our hearts, which help us along in our journeys in life. And so, yeah, it was absolutely a pleasure being
Yeah. Yeah.
with you. And yeah, so mediumship is a thing, and also energy healing is a thing.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so, the Reiki and the chakra energy healing, I also do that. I also dive into past lives and work that way. And I have a cool story
Okay. Yeah.
about past lives. Okay.
Yeah.
So, one of my clients, and I'm okay to share this, by the way. So, one of my clients had in so she was at a point in her life where she was looking to start a family, and she was really looking forward to having kids. And so I say she was at a point, she was actually at a later point in her life. Okay, so she was on the later end of starting a family. Everybody else she knew had already done this. She was a very successful woman in her career and her line of work. And so she was just at this point, she goes, I've tried everything and I really want to have kids, but I can't even have a successful relationship. Like, I feel like I'm repelling men. What's going on? And she hired the best matchmakers. She traveled, she went other places to find a partner, even, and got hooked up, with somebody, the best of the best, and still nothing was happening. And so we went in to the Akashic records, and I was able to pull what has gone on in her past lives that are relevant to this. And what popped up was not only a fear of childbirth and of relationships, but also the fact that she had made an agreement to celibacy.
Ooh, in a past life.
hmm In one of the most recent past lives she made an agreement to celibacy.
Mm.
So we did some work to release those, cut those ties, because it was carrying forward into this
Mhm.
lifetime. And
Mhm.
because everything, she just can understand why. And oh, quite frankly, I'm getting goosebumps right now. And every time I tell it, it's just such beautiful validation of the work that I do, because we were able to go and I worked with her and we were able to cut those ties. And I'll just say, after all of this, she is successful in her goals. And it was such a pleasure being able to work with her and to heal what she didn't even know needed to be healed.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's so cool. What a great story. Thanks for sharing that. Love that.
Absolutely. My
I love
pleasure.
that. Now let's talk a bit about fempreneurship itself and taking something that you feel, or I guess you know, has been given to you as a gift that was given to you so that you can have a positive impact on others' lives, and taking that and turning it into a business. Because I know a lot of women have trouble with that. It feels like they're taking this fun, creative outlet and they're attaching all of these boundaries and restraints and expectations to it, and it doesn't work for everyone. And I think that there are a lot of reasons why, but I'm curious to know your reasons why it has worked and some of the ways that you've maybe avoided those common pitfalls when attaching like a natural gift to a business model.
Yes. Okay. So I'll start with the marketing communications aspect in the business that I used to do because I was younger, and I'll just say the thing that kept popping up for me was just having tenacity and just going for it and not letting, and I talk about it, fear override things, and just trusting that you're going to be okay no matter what. And so, really, it's choosing. I think some of the biggest lessons I've learned in my entrepreneurial endeavors is just trusting in yourself, because we're always looking outside for external validation from others. Oh, well, what do you think of this? Or how should I do that? Or, I've done this, and yes, there is a time and a place to get mentors. Okay, so I always say, find somebody that's doing what you're doing and talk to them, learn, gain insights, figure out what those um, uh, little things you need to navigate are that maybe they already did and had some downfalls with that you can learn from them. So mentorship is great. And also coming back to, and the trusting in yourself, just knowing that you have the answers inside of you. We all do. We have this sixth sense of intuition for a reason. We're born with it. And so at the end of the day, it's trying to quiet our minds and really tapping in inwards. Okay, so what is my gut saying? How do I really feel about this, rather than analyzing? And I think, and maybe you'll agree, that as female entrepreneurs, we have this thing of being beautifully analytical, but we can always go over and go over and go over and go over things, whew,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
we can lose sleep over. Right?
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
wants to do that. And so if we ever find that we're at this point where we're going over and over and over things, take a breath, get out in nature. I always suggest that to others. Get out in nature, take a nature walk, do something where you're breathing in some fresh air, and we're able to let go of the regular stressors and all of the noise that happens. We've got stuff all on social media, things on the news and the music we listen to and the people we surround ourselves. All of this influences us. But at the end of the day, we're our own best friend.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
need to have that love and trust in ourselves in
Yeah,
order to make.
let's come back at everything you just said. Let's come back at that from a storytelling sort of an angle. Like I want some specific stories about maybe you having to revive your friend circle to be able to get this business off the ground, and maybe some examples of moments when you were kind of felt like you hit a brick wall and you had to stop and go out in nature. Like give us some actual examples of those times.
Well, you hit the nail on the head with the uh, revamping my friend circle. I knew a lot of people from my networking days and from doing marketing communications. I knew a lot of people, and it didn't suit me with the work that I'm doing now and the path that I'm on now, to be out all the time at all the events and staying out late and maybe indulging in a number of beverages, and that just didn't suit me anymore for the work that I'm doing. I really recognize that with this line of work, I need to have my head as clear as possible. I need to have that connectedness to nature and being grounded. And it's how not only I realize me as a person that I'm best showing up for myself and being healthy, but it's also how I can best show up for my clients. So absolutely, I made personal lifestyle changes, but then I also had to really accept and make changes for my business, because if I was going to show up, if I was going to be one getting up early to start doing things, because for me, I realized I need better sleeps. So I'm going to be getting up early. I'm going to be doing some meditation. I'm doing some stretches and some yoga. I'm doing things to help me, which in turn helps me show up as my best self for others. So I had to recognize, okay, who in my friend circle now, who in my inner group is doing these things, and then who maybe isn't doing those things. Because people would still call me to go out to, oh, let's go to these events, let's do this, let's do that. And that's great. And once in a blue moon, I mean, I'm happy to let loose and dance a bit, and why not? But at the rate that I was previously, it no longer fit my vibration now. It doesn't fit. And so, yeah, that can be something. When you start taking account of who in your life aligns with how you are at this point in time, you kind of recognize that maybe you just don't ask certain people to do things, moving forward. Maybe just some relationships naturally fall by the wayside. And the growth that comes from that, though, for you can be huge. And it's okay. It doesn't mean that you don't still love those people or you don't care for them, and you can still check on them every once in a while, but maybe you don't do as much with them anymore because you're focused on you and your business. And at the end of the day, you wake up with you. You got to look in the mirror to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, I love that. Now what I'd like you to do is tell us what you would tell your 10-year younger self about business, about life, about trusting your gut, or maybe something else you haven't touched on yet.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking about it all, and I feel like I've touched on a lot of that stuff. My 10-year younger self, a couple things. Oh, and I might be stepping out of the box on this stuff too. Whew. But I'll say, because it's not just business, it's personal. So I'm going to add a touch of personal stuff here, okay? If you think something is not well in your body, get it checked. Do it. Because I didn't listen to the signs of things, okay? I got bit by a tick and I didn't know it. I know I got bit by something, but I didn't actually do any, like, I waited a while before I went to a doctor. And then when the doctor told me it was this thing that's insignificant, I kind of just went with it, even though I still had persisting symptoms. And I was ignoring what my body was telling me as I got worse and worse and worse, to the point where it was like full stop on my body. And I feel like the universe does that too, is it gives us signs. It gives us opportunity to take the time for ourselves. And I just didn't listen. And, they say sometimes it's like, well, I got smacked a little bit and I didn't really listen, but it took a good knockout for me to actually recognize. Yeah. And that's really something that happened. So I would say I would listen to my body. Number one, I would listen to my body more. Okay. Business-wise, I would say, again, trusting the intuition, but learning the no's and having more boundaries. Because I back then said yes to everything, because I thought, oh, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity. All these opportunities, and how am I going to get ahead? I just do, go. And all these opportunities. But did they really align, or was I just taking them on because I could, or because it was high demand, or because, and I think now I would be a little more selective. If I could tell her 10 years ago, be a little more selective of who you work with, because there were people that I didn't align with that my gut kind of felt off about, but
Yeah.
because it was a contract, oh, I'm going to take it, right? It now knowing and seeing how those turned out, those ones were a lot more difficult to work through, I'll say.
Mhm.
And so, you know, having, if I had listened to my gut, I might have had more ease in working with those clients or with the outcome of those contracts.
Mhm.
And so, absolutely listen to your gut, trust what your intuition says. We, as women, especially female intuition is a thing, we are all born with it. So, you don't have to be like someone like myself who has enhanced gifts, okay? Everybody has intuition and they're born with it. And so
Mhm.
sometimes that noise, like what we talked about earlier, can kind of drum out the sound of us listening to ourselves.
Mhm.
And so, if again, if you tap into nature, if you get out in nature, it helps dull the noise, the external factors. And so, really, that's where I say going for nature walks is such a big thing.
Mhm.
Just, you know, get out and be close to some water, put your feet in the ground and like earthing. Or you're in Mexico right now, just getting out and putting your feet in the sand and listening. I mean, how do you feel when you hear the ocean waves crashing against the shore? How do you feel?
That's why I'm here. I mean, I've got up at 5:30 a.m. every single day since I arrived here a week and a bit ago, and I've been at the beach for sunrise. And that's why I'm here right now, is so that I can do that, because the ocean is it just does something for me that I can't even explain, and it's really good.
It's magical, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
there's so many opportunities for magic and us in nature.
hmm,
And that's it's such a key, because we're electromagnetic beings, okay?
yeah,
So that is where we gain energy, is in nature. And all these other things like technology and stuff, it can deplete us. And so yeah, so that's why I say get out in nature, because that's where we gain energy. That's where
yeah.
our head is the most clear. If you're ever, you know, struggling, any female entrepreneurs, if you're ever struggling in, oh gosh, should I do this or should I make this decision? And just get out in nature, clear your head a little bit. The answers will come to you, I promise.
Hmm.
And
That's great.
also, we all have spirit guides. I'm going to tap back into a little bit of the spiritual,
Yeah, yeah,
okay?
yeah.
We all, if we're ever feeling alone, okay, and you don't necessarily want to ask your mentor, maybe you got some feedback from your mentor already, or from your family or your friends in regards to your business, but you're still kind of feeling conflicted and you're just unsure of what to do. You can always, one, listen to yourself and trust your gut,
Hmm.
or two, ask your spirit guides for help with the answers, because we all have them. We all have guides. There's angelic beings, there's our loved ones who have passed on, and they're here to support us from the
Hmm.
spiritual realm. And
Yeah.
so not only are we supported physically in the earthly realm, but we
Hmm.
have support systems on the spiritual realm. And they're the ones that are helping support us and, let's just say, give us little clues or little signs of things and which path to take or what direction might be good. I'm not saying they're going to give us all the answers, right?
Yeah.
But they're here to support us, and we're never truly alone. So, for anybody just going through it and just feeling that, we're never truly alone. We always have support.
That's really cool.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. That's fantastic. So, for those fempreneurs out there who are um, struggling with, maybe energetically struggling with charging what they're worth, maybe they're still in that new business phase where they used to do this for a hobby and they're having a hard time treating it like a business. They're not charging, maybe they're giving sessions away for free. What would you say to them, and how would you advise that they really step into owning their worth and charging their worth?
That's something that I had to learn for myself. And, you know, you're right. It's one thing to, as you're learning and you're growing to do some things. But there is something universally about energy exchange. Okay. So I have to say this. If you decide, okay, you know what, I'm going to do this for free or complimentary for someone, what is the exchange that's happening? Because there's something about giving, but there's also something about having an energetic exchange so that you're also on the receiving end. And so, one, to keep that in mind. So if you're going to do things like that, I always suggest having an energy exchange. So you're also receiving, and you can talk to the other person and work that out, figure out how you can collaborate together so that it's a win-win scenario. Secondly, charging what you're worth. Ooh. Yeah, that's a thing. That's a thing. And I think so many of us have struggled with that or are struggling with that. And what I think about it is be bold. Be bolder than you think. Because if you're looking out there and seeing what your competitors are doing, and you know that you have these services that are amazing, or these products that are amazing, these skill sets that are amazing, trust that you have that for a reason.
Right.
Trust that. And okay, so you're looking at your competitors. Well, what are they charging? So why are you charging that or better?
Yeah.
We're all fabulous female entrepreneurs at the end of the day, and we should be charging what we're worth because our time is valuable, our energy is valuable, and those are two things that you don't get back, right? So it is so worth charging what we are worth.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That is one thing that men don't seem to have a lot of trouble with, but women really struggle with that. I find a lot. They really have a hard time with charging
Yes.
the right amount for what they're doing.
Well, it's the self-worth aspect, right?
Yeah.
And also, we are such givers, right? As females, we're just naturally can be caregivers. And at that, it's where, okay, sometimes we overextend ourselves within that. And setting up those boundaries, knowing how valuable we are and recognizing that, absolutely we should be charging our worth.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing, everything that you've shared so far. Is there anything else you'd like to share with entrepreneurs about starting a healing business, about life in general, about anything?
Yes. So I mentioned the gifts that I have and what I do and what does that look like? So I host wellness retreats. And I also do one-on-one sessions with people. So they can be in person in Calgary or wherever I am at that point, or online. So I do them virtually as well over Zoom. And it can be for any of my services. I operate that way. And so, I'll say one more thing in regards to this. Okay, because I think this might be inspirational for people too. When I first started coming out, and especially, it's very different coming from, hey, here's my business background to I'm doing healing work now. And both are important. Both are needed in this world. Okay. So, but it was just a mindset shift that I had to get over in worrying about what other people were going to think. Right? I'm a very sciencey person. I'm very head-centered and logical person, but now I'm doing this heart-centered work. And so for me, it was, okay, how am I communicating that? And again, with the being bold and going for it, I signed up for a TikTok account and I started doing readings for people, just random people who were in the live with me. And so I would just pull them up and I'd start doing my mediumship readings and telling them all these things that their loved ones are passing along. And that is a way that I got started and putting myself out there. Because I can do that with friends and family and that sort of thing. But to get that exponential growth and the not encouragement, but just the what's the word I'm looking for? Confidence. There we go. To have that confidence builder, I was like, well, I'm just going to put myself out here. Here I am. And I'll tell you, it got me connected with people from all different places in the world. And I wouldn't change it for a thing.
That's great. That's really cool. I love that story. I forgot about that story. Actually, I wanted to tee that one up. So I'm glad that you remembered to share that, because that is so cool that you did that. And, you know, you're just hopping on TikTok live. You don't know who's going to show up, and you're doing readings, and like, yeah, that's so fantastic. So did a lot of those people, go ahead.
Oh, yes. Oh, and it just got me remembering one more thing too. And I forget exactly how the phrase goes, but it's, and I need to always remind myself of this too, but it's, essentially it's like the squeaky wheel thing, but it's people will know about you if you're out there. If you're not out there, people aren't going to know about you. So you can be the best of the best in what you do. But if you aren't putting yourself out there in some way, nobody's going to know it. So why not set up, do some TikTok lives and showcase what your services are, what your products are, make the reels, do the things. And you don't have to hire professional companies to do that. Now, it is nice, considering I used to do that. So it is nice to hire other people so that you can focus on your craft and what your specialty is. But simply taking your phone and just get a simple ring light and do it from your home, do it from your office space, wherever you are, and just start making content. Because the more you put it out there, the more people are going to know about it.
Absolutely. And that reminds me to mention Fempreneur Marketing School for those of you who want to DIY your own content, but you'd like to do it with some guidance and encouragement and a team of other fempreneurs who are doing the scary things too. Definitely check out my marketing school. I run it a few times a year. There's another one starting up in early 2025. And if you're one of those people that's been creating awesome content on social media for a while, or maybe even blogging for a while, and it's time for you to write a book about your subject matter, then hit me up, because I have a marketing school that's tailored to authors. It's called Fem Authors, and it starts in January 2025. So wanted to mention those two things to all of y'all here on the podcast. And thank you so much, Meg. Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, and then Meg has my new book.
I've just gotten into it. I'm so excited to continue reading it and learning, because yes, I'm thrilled to write a book myself. And now that I know that I can tap into you and make this happen, it's something. It's something. And so for anybody else, it's a great read so far, is what I need to say.
Yeah, it's a great read for sure. And I mean, it's my sixth book, and I'm really proud of it, more proud of it than I am of all the books, because I just felt so clear. I felt like I had those spirit guides with me the whole time I wrote it, and everything just flowed out, and it was just so easy to write,
Amazing.
And so I really, really enjoyed writing it. And I've already had about a dozen women that have written books from using my book as their tool. Some of those did also work with me, but some of them did it completely on their own, just using my book. So yeah, it's been a really, really cool experience meeting women that want to write books, that are writing books. And that was one of the first things you and I chatted about when we met very, very recently at Amal's Diamonds Portraits event, which big shout out to Amal for creating such an incredible community of women here in the I'm not in Calgary right now, but in the Calgary area, which is how I met the lovely Shaman Meg. And I guess we started chatting about all the things right off the bat. We, talked about the fact that a book would be a great addition to Meg's repertoire of things that are out in the world. So I'm pretty pumped for your book that's going to come out at some point in the near future. And so if people want to work with you, they can get in touch with you via Instagram.
Yes.
What would be another great way for them to reach out to you?
Instagram, Facebook, either of those. You can go to my website, and I've got a form on my website, and it comes right to me, and we can connect. So yeah, absolutely.
What's the website again?
intuitivehealingwithmeg.com.
Okay, perfect. I'll link to that in the show notes as well as your Instagram. And yeah, is there anything else you want to leave the Fempreneurs with before we hop off?
I think we covered it. It's been such a pleasure.
Perfect. All right. Well, definitely get in touch with Meg if you're curious about retreats, if you're curious about chatting with some of your loved ones who've passed on. I know I recently experienced that. I highly recommend it. And yeah, just thank you so much, Meg, for coming into my life, coming into the Fempreneurs community, being here on the podcast. And I hope everyone has a really fantastic rest of their day.
Thank you. Take care.
All right. Bye for now, everyone.